Okay, so I've been meaning to make this video for a really long time now. It's about this Gibson Les Paul that I have. This is probably the coolest looking Les Paul that I personally have ever seen, and that's what immediately drew me to it. I'll talk about how I got it first. The craziest thing that I've experienced as far as guitar buying, I saw this guitar on Instagram. Yes, Instagram. So I'm searching, like just browsing my feed, and I come across this amazing guitar. At the time, I was just like fanboying, fantasizing over a combination between a Randy Rhoads white cream Les Paul, like that's something I would love, or like a Slash flame top. So I'm just looking for different things that I like, and I come across this on Instagram. So it's got the flame top, it's got the split diamond headstock is something I've always wanted. The Super 400 inlays like immediately attracted me. And the most important thing is that I've never seen something like this before. I've seen guitars that look like it, but none that have the exact same features as this. So people always think right away that this is a 2550 anniversary model. It's not, because those had commemorative headstocks that said 2550. And it also had a coil tap switch into the bottom, which this does not have. What makes this guitar so unique is that it's flame maple everywhere. Look at the back of this guitar. Look at the back of the neck. Even up to the headstock. So this is a 5-piece neck. And these are, I still don't have full confirmation on whether these are strips of ebony or if they're strips of carbon fiber. I mean, I don't know. Either one doesn't really bother me either way. And also, this is what I was most skeptical about. If you look here, there's like a binding on the horn. And that's kind of like the weirdest thing I've ever seen on a guitar. So I was very curious about the guitar. So I was writing with the shop, and I was like, what's the deal with that? They had no idea. So the shop I bought it from, which is a very well-known, reputable shop, great shop. I have no problem with them. I mean, I actually pretty much stole this guitar. They didn't know what it was. They just said it was a one-off custom, whatever, 1979, that's it. So I put it on layaway right away. I inquired about this. I thought this might have been a repair. It's not. Turns out it's supposed to be there. And I put it on layaway right away. I paid nowhere near what I should have for it. These guitars should be very expensive, and I paid a very good price, even considering if it was a used custom, like a new custom. So yeah, it's got flame maple everywhere, even the sides. So look at the sides of this, how the light catches it certain ways. It looks awesome. So I found out that this on the horn is because they couldn't bend the maple around this point. So they couldn't get the maple around the horn, so they just cut it off, and they added a stopper there. I guess a piece of mahogany to put as a stopper. So why I paid less for it is because it's definitely a player condition. It had been refretted. It didn't have the original nut, so it didn't have this brass nut. It had a bone nut, and it had a regular, like, crappy plastic replacement Les Paul custom thing there. It didn't have original pickups. I replaced these with Porter Anthem PAFs. They're my favorite pickups. I love Porter pickups. Highly recommend you checking them out. And also, it had an original, like a regular stop tailpiece. I also put this Graphtec bridge on, just personal preference. But it had a regular tailpiece. The reason I put the TP6 on it, which is what it normally would have come with. So I'm going to show you guys a picture of a stock one that someone has that's a mint condition one. And it would have normally come with this TP6. But I put it back on because if you look closely, you can see underneath here that there was a route. So at some point, somebody had routed this for a tremolo, replaced the pickups. It looks like they put on a Floyd Rose or something, because there's little nibs on the end of the headstock that make it look like that a tremolo was put on, like a locking mechanism. So I wind up with the guitar. I had it for about 2 years. I took it on the road. I was touring with this thing, taking it everywhere, showing it off. I love it. Even though it's heavy as a mother, it's freaking 12 pounds. It's about 11.75, I think, 11 pounds and 3/4. So I was taking it everywhere, playing it on the road with Jessica Lynn, loving it. And then having no idea what it was. Still, to this day, nobody could tell me what this thing is. I took it to the NAMM show at Gibson. People don't know. I took it everywhere with me. Ask every shop, every vintage person, every vintage expert. Nobody could tell me what this is. I started to get a lead one day on Instagram again, of all places. This is just like the Instagram guitar, I guess. So I get a comment on a picture of it. Hey, that looks like Neil Sean's guitar in the Any Way You Want It music video. So I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. I start looking it up. I watched the music video. Sure enough, split diamond headstock, Super 400 inlays, weird binding on the horn. I was like, that's the guitar. That's the same one. What the hell is he using? So my search began with at least a little bit of a lead. And apparently this guitar has like a super following in Japan, where people are really obsessed with this Neil Sean Any Way You Want It guitar. So I found this Japanese website that I translated into English, and I found out that it's called the Gibson Les Paul Limited Edition 1979. Not the greatest name of all time, but hey, whatever. It's cool. I have a lead. And you'll notice in the video, if you watch it, Neil Sean has replaced these with cream pieces and amber knobs, but it would have been black. There's one scene where he flips it over like this, and you see he's still got the black behind the electronics. He still has the black knobs. So I have a name. After 2 years of owning the guitar, I finally figure out what it's called. So now after months and months of searching, I find this G-Bass ad again on Instagram. G-Bass has a great Instagram account too. And I see just from here to here, right? Just the body. And I was like, that's it. I was like, what the hell is it? So I click on it and I find this seller who's got a mint condition Les Paul Custom Limited Edition 1979. Exact same. And that's what I modeled that's why I got the TP6. That's why I got the brass nut and the brass truss rod cover replacement, because I saw his mint one and copied it. So I'm going to put up pictures of the G-Bass ad you're going to see on your screen, and it's going to have a little bit of a description and what it is. So I had actually called up this shop and spoke to the gentleman on the phone. He's in the freaking butt end of Alaska, or like all the way up in Canada, something. It cost me $15 to call him long distance, but it was worth it because I got some good information. Apparently in 1979, there was a builder for Gibson that was retiring, and they basically gave him free reign to design his perfect guitar. So that's what he did. He designed this guitar, and I found out that the wood from the guitar, and again, you can see it's like this really nice flame maple all over it, is actually from an Austrian violin maker, a famous Austrian violin maker who had passed away, and apparently Gibson bought their whole stock of flame maple at the time that this guitar was made. So that maple got shipped over, and this employee made a limited edition run, kind of his retirement present, of 24 guitars. So I found out this is one of 24 guitars, and the guy that put it up on G-Bass was asking 30 grand for it, which was like blowing my mind, that considering what I paid for it versus what he's asking for it. So I've finally got a title, I've got a value, and in the description for the G-Bass ad, it said that at the time, these were 4 times the price of a normal Les Paul Custom when they came out in 1979. So if anybody out there happens to have a price guide from the 70s, if Joe Bonamassa finds this video and he's got in his collection this guitar in a catalog from 1979, I would love to see it, just a picture of it. I just want to know what it was when it first came out, because I've just always been curious about that. So where this story gets even more interesting is I had taken this to the NAMM show, because I was wanting answers. I was like, what the hell is this thing? So I take it up to the Gibson showroom, and I have a couple of friends at Gibson. They're very good people. And I say, hey, what is this? Do you have any idea? And one of the employees, my buddy Aljon, who's a great dude, he's like, hey, that's the Neil Sean Any Way You Want It guitar. That's that's the same one. I was like, oh, okay, awesome. I was like, so he does really know his stuff. So we talk more about specs and what goes into it. And he starts looking at it, and he's noticing the route, and he says, hey, did you ever compare this to the pictures of Neil Sean's? I was like, no. I see his in the video, but I never like compared them. And he's like, I think he put a tremolo in his at some point in the 90s or the 80s. And I was like, okay, so is my guitar the same as Neil Sean's? I mean, if you guys see pictures of it, let me know in the comments what you think. If this is the same one that he has, I would be over the moon, ecstatic, and thrilled if this is actually the one that he played on Any Way You Want It and through the Escape era, because that would be, it'd be a piece of rock and roll history. So if anybody has information on that, let me know. I actually had a conversation with Neil through Instagram again, just comments on one of his pictures. And it turns out his guitar, unfortunately, was heisted in the 90s with a trailer full of gear, which is really crappy and a really shitty story. But I mean, maybe if one day he wanted to reunite with it and this is actually it, I don't know. What do you think I should do? Let me know in the comments what I should do about that one. But I would feel terrible if it actually is his, but I would definitely be more than happy helping him get his guitar back. But so yeah, that is the story behind what I consider one of the most rare Les Pauls of all time. And I'm lucky enough to own it. This Gibson Les Paul Custom Limited Edition 1979. My baby.